My daughter tore up my wedding invitation in front of 42 people and told me my life was worthless. For 22 years, I raised her alone after her mother died. I worked 2 jobs. I paid for her college, her car, her house. I gave her everything, and at her rehearsal dinner, she looked me in the eye and said I didn't belong in her new life. 42 people watched. No one said a word, so I didn't argue. I just walked out. 3 days later, on her wedding day, she woke up to an empty venue, an eviction notice, and a 2-sentence note from me. She'd lost everything. The wedding, the house, $725,000 she didn't even know existed. And me. But before I tell you what I did, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Now, let me take you back to where this all started. My name is Matteo Richardson. I'm 61 now, but this story starts 22 years ago when I was 39. Back then, life was simple, good even. I was a project manager at a construction firm, made $78,000 a year. Nothing fancy, but solid. My wife Catherine taught elementary school. She had this smile that could light up a room. Our daughter Emma was 6 years old. We called her our little sunflower. Every night we'd have dinner together. Emma would sit on my lap while I read her bedtime stories. Catherine would bake cookies, and the whole house would smell like cinnamon and love. We were happy. That year, Catherine and I made an investment. We'd just inherited $95,000 from her mother. Instead of spending it, we bought a 40% stake in an LLC that owned a wedding venue called Riverside Manor. Catherine stood in the empty ballroom, spinning around like a kid. Matteo, one day Emma will get married here. I want her to have everything I didn't have. See, Catherine and I got married at a courthouse. No party, no white dress, just us and a witness. She wanted better for Emma. I promised her she'd have it. 6 months later, Catherine collapsed at school. Stage 4, ovarian cancer. The doctors gave her 6 to 8 months. She lasted 3. But that investment? That 40% ownership of Riverside Manor? I kept it. For 16 years, I held on to those shares. Never told Emma. Never mentioned it. I thought I'd surprise her one day. Turns out, I'd need it for something else entirely. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The hospital room was cold. Always cold. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones and never leaves. Catherine lay in that bed for 3 months. Her hair fell out in clumps. Her hands got so thin I was afraid I'd break them. But she never stopped smiling at Emma. The night before she died, Emma was asleep in the chair next to the bed. Catherine squeezed my hand. Her grip was weak, but I felt every ounce of what she was trying to say. Matteo, her voice was a whisper. Promise me something. Anything. Give her the wedding I never had. A tear rolled down her cheek. Promise me you'll walk her down the aisle. I nodded. I couldn't speak. Catherine pulled off her wedding ring with shaking fingers. She pressed it into my palm. The metal was warm from her skin. Promise me she'll wear this. I closed my fist around the ring. I promise. All of it. She smiled. You're the best man I've ever known, Matteo. Don't forget that. 3 days later, she was gone. I stood in our bedroom, holding that ring. Emma was downstairs with her grandmother, crying. 6 years old and already broken, I made a vow that night. I would keep every promise I'd made to Catherine. Every single one. 22 years. I kept that promise every single day. I worked myself to exhaustion. I gave up dating, remarrying, having a life of my own. Everything I did was for Emma. Everything. Until the night she told me it meant nothing. For the next 16 years, I became 2 people. Day Matteo and Night Matteo. Day Matteo managed construction projects. Night Matteo did consulting work on weekends. Emma needed soccer cleats? I bought them. Piano lessons? Paid for. College visits across 3 states? I drove every mile. When Emma was 8, I coached her soccer team. I was the only parent who showed up to every single game. Rain or shine, I was there. When she was 12, she had a piano recital. I sat in the front row and recorded the whole thing on a camera I'd saved up 3 months to buy. When she turned 16, we spent a week visiting colleges. 1,200 miles. Just me and her talking about her future. I paid for every penny of her education, $156,000 for 4 years at a private university. When she graduated, I sat in the crowd and cried like a baby. She walked across that stage, grabbed her diploma, and looked right at me. She mouthed 2 words. "Thank you, Dad." That was the Emma I knew, the Emma I raised. On her 21st birthday, I surprised her with a car, $28,000. I'd been saving for 2 years. She hugged me so tight, I thought my ribs would crack. "I love you, Dad. I'll never forget this." I believed her. When she wanted to buy her first apartment, I gave her $35,000 for the down payment. Every step of the way, I was there. I never missed a birthday, never forgot a holiday, never let her feel alone. And you know what? I'd do it all again in a heartbeat, until she made me regret every second of it. 2 years ago, Emma called me. Her voice was different, excited, nervous. "Dad, I met someone." His name was Brandon Whitmore, 31 years old, finance guy, drove a BMW, wore suits that cost more than my monthly mortgage. The first time I met him was at dinner. His parents came too, Robert and Patricia Whitmore. They lived in a gated community, the kind with a guard at the entrance. I showed up in jeans and a flannel shirt. It was a casual restaurant, or so I thought. Everyone else wore business casual. Patricia looked at me like I'd tracked mud on her carpet. "Oh, Mateo, how charming." Brandon shook my hand. His grip was firm, but his eyes were cold, like he was sizing me up and finding me lacking. "So, Mr. Richardson, what do you do?" "I'm a project manager at—" "Construction, right?" Patricia interrupted. "How practical." The word practical came out like an insult. Emma laughed, not with me, at me. That was the first crack. Over the next 6 months, more cracks appeared. Emma stopped calling as often. Our Sunday dinners, a tradition we'd kept for 22 years, got canceled. Again and again. "Brandon's family invited us to brunch, Dad. Rain check?" 6 months before the wedding, I met some of Brandon's friends at an engagement party. Emma introduced me. "This is my dad. He works in construction management." She said it like she was apologizing. One of Brandon's friends asked what I did. I started to explain. Emma cut me off. "He's just my dad. Nothing special." I stood there holding a glass of wine, feeling like I'd been slapped. But I told myself it was wedding stress. She'd come back to me after. I was wrong. The wedding planning started 18 months before the big day. Emma and Brandon chose Riverside Manor. I'll never forget the moment she showed me the brochure. "Dad, look at this place. It's perfect." I looked at the photos, the grand ballroom, the garden with the fountain, the stone archway where Catherine had once spun around like a little girl. My hands started shaking. I owned 40% of that building. Emma had no idea. The next week we had a meeting with the venue manager. Her name was Linda Cooper. I'd known Linda for 15 years. She'd sent me quarterly reports on the LLC's performance. When we walked in, Linda's eyes went wide. She recognized me immediately. Emma didn't notice. She was too busy gushing over the space. Linda pulled me aside. "Mr. Richardson, does Emma know you're—" I shook my head, put a finger to my lips. Linda nodded. Professional, discreet. For the next hour, I sat there while Emma and Brandon talked about floral arrangements and seating charts. When it came time to sign the contract, Linda looked at me. "Who's handling the payment?" Emma glanced at Brandon. Brandon glanced at Emma. I pulled out my checkbook. "I'll take care of the deposit. Benwu, $8,000 for the venue and catering." I wrote the check. My hand didn't shake, not once. Emma hugged me. "Dad, you don't have to—" "I want to." Over the next 18 months, I paid for everything. Photographer, flowers, DJ, dress alterations. Every single invoice came to me. Total cost? $132,000. Emma thought Brandon was paying. Brandon thought I was paying. Nobody asked questions. Every contract had my name on it. Mateo Richardson, not Emma, not Brandon, me. I was the legal party, the one with the power to cancel. But I didn't know I'd need that power. Not yet. I signed every check thinking she'd be grateful. I never imagined I'd need to cancel them. There's something else Emma didn't know about. After Catherine died, I received $725,000 from her life insurance policy. I could have spent it, paid off the house, bought a new car, traveled the world, but that money wasn't mine. It was Catherine's last gift to Emma. I set up a trust fund, met with a lawyer, signed all the papers. The terms were simple. Emma would receive the full amount when she turned 30 or when she got married, whichever came first. But there was one clause Catherine had made me add before she died. Matteo, promise me Emma will always treat you with respect. If she ever forgets what you've done for her, if she ever takes you for granted, you have my permission to protect yourself. At the time, I thought it was paranoia. Catherine was on heavy medication. Her mind wandered sometimes. But I added the clause anyway. Beneficiary must maintain a respectful and loving relationship with the trustee. If the trustee determines that the relationship has been irrevocably damaged, the trustee may revoke the trust and redirect funds to alternate beneficiaries or charitable organizations. I was the trustee. I had absolute discretion. For 22 years, I never thought about that clause. I planned to surprise Emma at the rehearsal dinner. I'd prepared an envelope with a check for $725,000. I practiced my speech 10 times. I was going to stand up, tell everyone how proud Catherine would be, and hand Emma the check. I imagined her face, the shock, the joy, the tears. I kept that envelope in my jacket pocket the night of the rehearsal dinner. It stayed there, unopened. She never got to see it. And now, she never will. But that's getting ahead of the story. Let me tell you about the house first. 3 years ago, Emma called me. She was 25. Dad, I found the perfect house, but I don't have enough for a down payment. The house cost $385,000. She needed $75,000 to close. I'll handle it, I told her, but I didn't just give her the down payment. I bought the whole house, put it in my name. Why? 2 reasons. First, tax strategy. Keeping it under my name meant certain deductions. Second, protection. If Emma ever got into debt, student loans, credit cards, whatever, creditors couldn't touch the house. I told myself I was being smart, practical. I planned to transfer the title to her after she got married. Wedding gift. For 3 years, I paid the mortgage. $2,100 a month. $75,600 total. Emma moved in, decorated, had friends over, called it my house. She had no idea the title was still in my name. Brandon didn't know either. Emma told him, "My dad gave me this house." Technically true. I gave her the use of it. But I still owned it. I kept the deed in a safe in my study, right next to Catherine's ring and the trust fund documents. I'd look at that deed sometimes, run my finger over my name. After the wedding, I'd tell myself, I'll sign it over after the wedding. I had the paperwork ready. Transfer of title. All I needed to do was sign and file. But then something happened. Something that made me realize I'd been preparing for the wrong event. I wasn't preparing to give her the house. I was preparing to take it back. And when the time came, I wouldn't hesitate. Not for a second. But first, let me tell you about the 3 times Emma showed me who she'd become. 3 warnings I ignored. 3 moments I should have paid attention to. 6 months before the wedding, Brandon's parents threw an engagement party. 50 people. Catered food, open bar, the works. I showed up in my best suit. It was 10 years old, but I'd had it dry cleaned and pressed. I brought a $500 gift card as a present. Brandon introduced me to his colleagues. Wall Street types, perfectly styled hair, watches that cost more than my car. "This is Emma's dad, Matteo." One of them asked, "What do you do, Matteo?" Before I could answer, Emma appeared at my elbow. "Oh, he's in construction management." Her voice had this edge, dismissive, like she was apologizing for me. "Very hands-on work." I opened my mouth to correct her. "Actually, I'm a senior project manager at—" Emma laughed, cut me off. "Dad, they don't need your whole resume." 10 people were listening. 10 people watched Emma brush me off like I was an embarrassment. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe right. Later, she pulled me aside. whispered so no one else would hear, "Dad, can you just blend in? Brandon's colleagues are very, you know." "Very what?" she sighed. "Sophisticated. Just don't talk too much about work, okay?" I looked at my daughter, this woman I'd raised, who I'd worked 2 jobs for, who I'd given everything to, and I said, "Okay, honey." I swallowed the hurt. Told myself it was nerves, wedding jitters, but driving home that night, my hands shook on the steering wheel. I pulled over, sat in a parking lot for 20 minutes. I told myself it was a one-time thing. She was just stressed. She didn't mean it. I was wrong. 2 months before the wedding was my 61st birthday, June 14th. For 22 years, Emma never missed it. Every year she'd come over. We'd have dinner. She'd bake cookies from Catherine's recipe. It was our tradition. That year I prepared everything, made her favorite lasagna, set the table for 2, bought flowers for the centerpiece. 6 p.m. came. No Emma. 7 p.m. I sent a text. "Honey, you coming?" 8:30 p.m. My phone buzzed. "OMG, Dad, I'm so sorry. Brandon surprised me with dinner reservations. Totally forgot. Rain check?" I looked at the table. 2 plates, 2 forks, 2 candles burning down to nothing. The lasagna was cold. I sat down, ate alone. Every bite tasted like cardboard. I texted back, "No problem, sweetheart. Have fun." 3 days later, she sent me a $100 gift card via email. The message said, "Happy belated birthday, Dad." Generic, like something you'd send a coworker. I stared at that email for 10 minutes. When Emma was 8, she made me a birthday card out of construction paper, drew a picture of us holding hands, wrote, "I love you, Daddy," in crayon. I still have that card. It's in my desk drawer. This year, I got a gift card in 5 words. I told myself she was busy. Planning a wedding is stressful. She didn't mean to hurt me. But sitting in that empty kitchen, surrounded by cold lasagna and melted candles, I felt something shift. A small crack. Barely visible. But it was there. And it was growing. I should have seen it then. But I kept making excuses for her. 1 week before the rehearsal dinner, I stopped by a cafe to drop off wedding favors Emma had forgotten. She was there with 3 bridesmaids. Sunday brunch. I walked in wearing jeans and an old t-shirt. I'd been doing yard work that morning. The bridesmaids stood up to greet me. Smiles, warm handshakes. Emma stayed seated. She looked at me, looked at what I was wearing. "Dad, what are you wearing?" I glanced down. "Just weekend clothes, honey. I was doing yard work." One of her friends, Chelsea, I think, said, "Your dad is so sweet, Emma." Emma sighed. Actually sighed. "Yeah, he's Dad," the way she said it, like I was a stray dog she'd picked up somewhere. I put the box of favors on the table, tried to make conversation. "So, excited for next week?" Emma didn't look at me. "Dad, we're kinda in the middle of girl talk. Can we catch up later?" I stood there, holding an empty box, feeling like I'd been dismissed. "Oh, sure, I'll just..." Emma turned to her friends, said it loud enough for the whole cafe to hear. "Sorry, my dad doesn't really get social cues." The bridesmaids laughed. Uncomfortable. Forced. I felt heat crawl up my neck. My hands went numb. I managed to say, "I'll see you at the rehearsal dinner, sweetheart." Emma didn't look up from her mimosa. "Yeah, see you." I walked out of that cafe in a daze, got to my car, sat in the driver's seat. My hands were shaking so hard I couldn't put the key in the ignition. I told myself I was being too sensitive. Maybe I didn't get social cues. Maybe I was embarrassing. 3 days later, at the rehearsal dinner, she crossed the line I didn't even know I had. The night of the rehearsal dinner, I got ready like I was going to war. I bought a new suit. $600. I'd never spent that much on clothes in my life. I had 2 envelopes in my jacket pocket. One held $12,000 in cash, a gift for Emma and Brandon. The other held a check for $725,000. The trust fund. The surprise I'd been planning for months. In my other pocket, a small velvet box. Catherine's wedding ring. I'd written a speech, 5 pages, handwritten. I practiced it 10 times in front of the bathroom mirror. I drove to Riverside Manor, my venue. Though nobody there knew it except Linda. The sign outside said rehearsal dinner, Richardson Whitmore wedding. I felt a swell of pride and nerves. 42 people were already inside when I arrived. Brandon's family on one side of the ballroom, formal, cold. Emma stood in the center. She wore a beautiful dress. She was laughing with Brandon's mother. She didn't see me come in. I walked over. "Hi, sweetheart. You look beautiful." She turned. Her smile faded. Just a little. "Hi, Dad." No hug, no warmth, just, "Hi, Dad." I felt something twist in my chest. Dinner started. I realized I'd been seated at table 3, in the back. Not at the head table, not with family. Table 3, with people I didn't know. I watched Robert Whitmore stand up and give a toast. "To my future son-in-law and his beautiful bride." Everyone cheered. Nobody mentioned me. I sat there, alone in a crowd of 42. My hand touched the envelopes in my jacket. The money, the ring, the speech. And then Emma stood up and said the words that ended everything. Emma stood up, tapped her glass with a fork. The room went quiet. I smiled. I thought she was going to thank me, acknowledge me. "I want to say something." Her voice was steady, cold. She looked right at me. "Dad, can you stand up?" I stood, confused. I had the envelopes in my hand. "I need to be honest with everyone here." My heart started pounding. She continued. "For 28 years, you've given me everything. You worked 2 jobs. You paid for college. You bought me a car, a house, and now this wedding." I felt warmth spread through my chest. She was thanking me. But you know what? The warmth turned to ice. I'm tired of feeling guilty about it. 42 people leaned forward. I couldn't move. "You've used your sacrifices to control me, Dad. Every time I try to live my own life, you remind me what you've done for me." "Emma, I never—" "Dad." She held up her hand. "Your life is worthless now." Gasps. Actual gasps from the crowd. "You've done your job. You raised me. That's it." Her voice got louder, harder. "You don't get to be part of my new life." My legs went weak. I grabbed the back of my chair. She kept going. "So here's what I need you to do. Don't show up tomorrow. Don't walk me down the aisle. Don't cry and ruin my perfect day." I stood there. 42 people staring at me. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. My daughter, the little girl I'd raised for 22 years, was telling me my life was worthless, in front of everyone. And the worst part? She wasn't done. I held the envelopes in my shaking hands. Emma walked toward me, reached out. For a second I thought she was going to hug me, apologize. Instead, she grabbed one of the envelopes, the one with $12,000. She opened it, saw the cash, saw my wedding invitation tucked inside. She pulled out the invitation. My name was written in gold calligraphy. "You really thought you'd walk me down the aisle?" Her voice dripped with contempt. "Emma, your mother wanted—" "My mother is dead, Dad." She tore the invitation in half. The sound echoed through the silent ballroom. She tore it again and again. Pieces of paper fell to the marble floor like snow. "This isn't about her anymore. This is about me and Brandon and our future." She threw the pieces at my feet. "You're embarrassing. You're not sophisticated like Robert. You don't belong in Brandon's world." Brandon stood up, walked over, put his arm around Emma. He looked at me, smiled. "Yeah, old man. We don't need your drama tomorrow." Patricia Whitmore, Brandon's mother, laughed into her napkin. 42 people, 42 witnesses. Not one person stood up for me. I looked around the room, saw Emma's brother, Nathan. He was looking down at his plate, wouldn't meet my eyes. Saw Linda Cooper, the venue manager. Her eyes were full of pity. Saw strangers, friends of Brandon. They looked amused. Emma crossed her arms, lifted her chin. "You're not welcome here anymore, Dad." I looked at her, my daughter, the girl I'd carried on my shoulders, the girl I'd taught to ride a bike, the girl I'd held when her mother died. I didn't recognize her, and in that moment, something inside me died. But something else was born, something cold, clear, decisive. I stood there, looked at 42 faces. Some looked away, embarrassed. Some stared, curious. Some smirked. Entertained. Not one person said, "Emma, that's too far." Not one. I turned to Nathan, my nephew, Emma's brother. He finally looked up. His eyes were sad. He whispered, "Dad, just let it go." My own nephew, telling me to accept this. I looked at Robert Whitmore, Brandon's father. He raised his wine glass, took a sip, satisfied. I looked back at Emma. She stood there, chin up, arms crossed, no regret on her face. Inside my head, a voice was screaming, "This is my daughter. I changed her diapers. I taught her to read. I held her when she had nightmares. I worked myself to exhaustion for her, and she just told 42 people my life is worthless." My chest stopped hurting. My hands stopped shaking. My breathing slowed. I felt something I hadn't felt in 22 years. Clarity. I reached into my jacket, felt the other envelope, the trust fund check, $725,000. She didn't know about it. I thought about the venue, 40% ownership. She didn't know about that either. I thought about the house, title in my name. She didn't know about that either. I thought about the $132,000 in deposits, all in my name. She didn't know about any of it. I'd been building her future for 22 years, and in 30 seconds, she'd torn it all down. But here's the thing. If my life was worthless, then everything I'd built for her was worthless too. And worthless things, you throw them away. I looked at Emma one last time. Then I did something I'd never done before. I turned around, and I walked out. I didn't say a word. I bent down, picked up the torn pieces of my invitation, folded them, put them in my pocket. Emma's face changed. Confusion flickered across it. "Dad, what are you—" I didn't answer. I straightened up, looked at her one more time. Then I turned and walked. The ballroom was silent. 42 people watching. I heard Brandon laugh. Guess he got the message. I didn't turn around. I walked through the double doors, down the hallway, past the fountain where Catherine had once danced. The valet brought my car. I got in, closed the door, sat there for a moment in the darkness. Then I pulled out my phone, scrolled to my contacts, found the name I needed, David Morrison, my attorney. It was 9:47 p.m., too late to call. I put the phone down, started the car. The drive home took 30 minutes. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't break down, I just drove. The streets were empty, the night was clear. I thought about Catherine. "I'm sorry, Kat. I tried. I really tried. But I can't keep this promise. I can't walk her down the aisle. Because she doesn't want me there. And you know what? I don't want to be there either." I pulled into my garage, turned off the engine, sat in the darkness for 5 minutes. Just breathing. In, out. In, out. My phone was in my hand. David Morrison's number on the screen. At 2 a.m., I made the call that would change everything. But before I tell you what I did, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where someone you loved made you feel worthless? What did you do? Let me know in the comments. Now let me tell you about the darkest hours of my life and how they led to the clearest decision I've ever made. I walked into my house, didn't turn on the lights, just sat on the couch in the darkness. The streetlight outside cast shadows through the window. The clock on the wall ticked, tick, tick, tick. I stared at Catherine's photo on the wall. Our wedding day. She was 25, radiant. "I'm sorry, Kat," my voice cracked. "I can't keep the promise." And then, for the first time in 22 years, I cried. Not quiet tears, not dignified grief. I sobbed. 5 minutes, maybe 10. I cried for Catherine, for the promises I couldn't keep. I cried for Emma, for the daughter I'd lost. I cried for myself, for the fool I'd been. Then I stopped, wiped my face, stood up, walked to my study, opened the safe. Inside, Catherine's ring, the trust fund documents, the LLC papers for Riverside Manor, the deed to Emma's house, every wedding contract with my signature. I spread them out on my desk, stared at them under the lamplight, and I realized something. I held all the cards, every single one. Emma had no idea. She thought Brandon was paying for the wedding. She thought I'd given her the house. She didn't know about the trust fund. She didn't know I owned the venue. I'd been planning to give her all of this. Tomorrow. At the wedding. But she didn't want me there. She said my life was worthless. So what's stopping me from taking it all back? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I looked at the clock. 2 a.m. I picked up my phone. David answered on the third ring. Mateo? His voice was thick with sleep. It's 2 in the morning. You okay? I need your help. Legally. Tonight. Silence. Then, what happened? I told him. 5 minutes. No emotion. Just facts. The rehearsal dinner. Emma's words. The torn invitation. 42 witnesses. When I finished, David was quiet for a long moment. Jesus, Mateo, I'm sorry. I don't need sorry. I need to know my options. Options for what? I own the venue. I paid for the wedding. I own her house. I control the trust fund. My voice was steady, cold. Can I take it all back? Another pause. Legally? Yes. Morally? That's your call. Legally is all I need. I heard papers rustling. David was getting out of bed. Give me 10 minutes. Let me pull up your files. I waited, poured coffee, stared at the documents on my desk. David called back. Okay, here's what you can do. He walked me through it. The venue. I had veto rights as co-owner. I could cancel with 48 hours notice. The deposits. All contracts signed in my name. I was entitled to full refunds. The trust fund. Discretionary clause gave me absolute power to revoke. The house. I was the legal owner. I could issue an eviction notice. Mateo. David's voice was serious. Are you sure? This will destroy her. I looked at the torn invitation on my desk. She destroyed me first. I'm just protecting what's mine. I'll draft the papers. Meet me at my office at 8 a.m. I'll be there. I hung up, and for the first time in 22 years, I felt free. I didn't sleep. At 6 a.m., I showered, shaved, put on a suit, looked in the mirror, gray hair, tired eyes, jaw set. I didn't look like a victim anymore. I looked like a man with a plan. At 8 a.m. sharp, I walked into David's office. He had a stack of papers waiting, 25 pages. Sign here, here, and here. Venue cancellation notice, deposit refund requests, trust fund revocation letter, eviction notice, 7-day expedited. I picked up the pen. My hand didn't shake. Not once. I signed every page. David watched me. Once I file these, there's no going back. I know. She'll lose everything. She told me my life is worthless. I looked him in the eye. Let her see what a worthless life built for her. David nodded. He scanned the documents, filed them electronically. 9:15 a.m. Venue will get notice by noon. Deposits refunded by Wednesday. Trust fund frozen by Thursday. Eviction notice served Friday morning. Friday is her wedding day. I know. Perfect. I stood up, shook his hand. The weight on my shoulders, gone. Thank you, David. Where will you go? I smiled. First time in days. Somewhere Catherine always wanted to visit. I walked out of that office, got in my car, drove home, packed one suitcase, looked around my house one last time. 22 years of memories. I closed the door, locked it, left the key in the mailbox for the realtor, and I waited. By Wednesday morning, the first domino fell, and Emma's perfect world started to crumble. Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. Linda Cooper opened her email. Subject: Notice of contract cancellation. Richardson Whitmore wedding. She read it twice, then picked up the phone, called me first. Mateo, I just got this letter from your attorney. Are you sure? I'm sure, Linda. But the wedding is in 2 days. I'm aware. She was quiet. Then, I'm sorry this happened to you. I'll process the refund today. Thank you. She hung up. At 11:15, she called Emma. I know this because David got a call from Linda later. Emma had been cheerful. Hi, Linda. Just confirming final head count. Emma, I need to tell you something. Your wedding has been canceled. Silence. What? That's not funny. I'm not joking. Your father, as co-owner of the venue, has exercised his veto right. The contract is void. What? He can't do that? Legally, he can. The contract was signed by him. He's entitled to cancel. This is insane. I'll sue. You're welcome to try, but the law is clear. Emma hung up, immediately called me. 15 times. I watched my phone buzz. Emma, Emma, Emma. Declined every call. Turned off my phone. Went about my day. Packed the rest of my things. Booked a flight. One-way ticket to Rome. Departing Thursday night. I imagined Emma's face when Linda told her. The shock. The panic. And you know what? I felt nothing. No guilt. No regret. Just a strange, calm peace. But that was just the beginning. By Wednesday afternoon, the deposits started vanishing, and Emma realized she'd lost more than a venue. She'd lost everything. Wednesday, 2 p.m. Emma's phone rang. The photographer. Hey Emma, I got a weird email saying your wedding is canceled, and my deposit is being refunded to Matteo Richardson. What's going on? Ignore it. The wedding is still on. But the deposit was paid by Matteo. Legally, the refund goes to him. If you want me to shoot Friday, you'll need to pay the full $9,200 again. I don't have $9,000 right now. Then I can't guarantee I'll be there. Click. 2:30 p.m. The florist called. Same story. $11,500. Refunded to me. 3 p.m. The caterer. $42,000. Gone. Emma called the bank. Why are deposits being refunded to my dad? All contracts were signed by Matteo Richardson. He's the primary party. Legally, he gets the refunds. But I'm the bride. Legally, he's the client. Emma hung up, called Brandon. Brandon, my dad canceled everything. We need $132,000 by Friday. What? I thought you said your dad was just a project manager. How does he have this kind of control? I don't know. He never told me. Can your brother help? Nathan doesn't have that kind of money. What about your trust fund? What trust fund? You said you had family money. I thought I did. The panic in her voice. I didn't hear it firsthand. But David told me later. She was spiraling. And I was in Italy, sipping espresso, watching the sunset. At this point, you might be thinking, Matteo, isn't this too harsh? Here's what I'll say. Would you have done the same thing in my position? Let me know your thoughts below. Now let me tell you about Thursday morning, when Emma got the letter that changed everything. Thursday morning, 9 a.m., a courier knocked on Emma's door. Certified mail. Emma signed for it. Opened the envelope. Letterhead. Morrison and Associates, attorneys at law. She read, Dear Ms. Richardson, per the terms of the Catherine Richardson Memorial Trust, established by your father Matteo Richardson as trustee, we regret to inform you that the trust has been revoked effective immediately. As of this date, you are no longer the beneficiary of the $725,000 trust fund. Per Section 3B of the trust agreement, trustee may revoke trust if beneficiary relationship with trustee is determined to be irrevocably damaged. Trustee has exercised this right. Funds will be redirected to alternate beneficiaries and charitable organizations per trustee's discretion. Sincerely, David Morrison, Esquire. Emma read it once, twice. $725,000? She collapsed onto the floor, called Nathan. Did you know Dad had a trust fund for me? What? No. He just revoked it. $725,000. I didn't even know it existed. Nathan was quiet. Emma, what did you do? I didn't do anything. He's being insane. Emma, what did you say to him at the rehearsal dinner? Silence. I told him not to come to the wedding. What else? Long pause. I said his life was worthless. Nathan didn't speak for 10 seconds. Oh my God, Emma. He hung up. Emma sat on the floor, staring at the letter. $725,000. Money she never knew existed. Money that could have changed her life. Gone. And the worst part? It wasn't even Friday yet. Friday morning, 6 a.m., Emma's wedding day. A knock at the door. She hadn't slept. Her eyes were red, swollen. She opened the door. Process server. Clipboard in hand. Emma Richardson? Yes? You've been served. He handed her an envelope. Left. Emma tore it open. 7-day eviction notice. Property located at this address is owned by Matteo Richardson. Occupant Emma Richardson is hereby notified to vacate premises within 7 days. Failure to comply will result in legal removal. Emma's knees gave out. She sat on the floor, pulled out her filing cabinet, found the deed. Matteo Richardson, not Emma Richardson. Matteo. This is my house. But it wasn't. It never was. Brandon came out of the bedroom. What's going on? Emma handed him the notice. He read it. His face went white. The house isn't mine. It's my dad's. He's evicting me. You said he gave you this house. I thought he did. So you've been living in your dad's house this whole time? I didn't know. Brandon started pacing. Emma, this is insane. Your dad owns the venue, paid for the wedding, owns your house. And you didn't know any of this? He never told me. Or you never asked. Emma looked up. What's that supposed to mean? It means I can't marry someone who doesn't even know what she owns. Brandon grabbed his phone, started packing. Emma followed him. Brandon, please, we can fix this. You told him his life was worthless in front of 42 people. You think he's coming back? Emma started crying. I was stressed. I didn't mean it. You meant it. And now I see who you really are. Brandon zipped his bag, walked out, slammed the door. Emma was alone. Brandon called his parents from the car. The wedding is off. What? Why? Emma lied about everything. She doesn't own her house. Her dad paid for the wedding. She has no money. His mother's voice was sharp. I knew that girl was trash. I'm coming home. He hung up. Emma sat on the floor of her living room, surrounded by papers, eviction notice, trust fund revocation letter, venue cancellation email. Her wedding dress hung on the closet door, white, untouched. She'd never wear it. She picked up her phone. 89 missed calls to me, all declined. She sent a text. Dad, please, I'm sorry. Please call me. I was already in Italy, 4,000 miles away. I read the text, didn't reply, blocked her number. Emma stared at her phone, waiting. Nothing. She called Nathan. He blocked me. Nathan sighed. Emma, I don't know what to tell you. I lost everything, the wedding, Brandon, the house, the money, Dad. You lost it all the moment you said those words. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. You've been treating him like an embarrassment for months. This was just the first time you said it out loud. Emma hung up, sat in silence. Her phone buzzed. A message from Brandon's mother. Please don't contact Brandon again. He's moving on. I suggest you do the same. Emma threw her phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. She pulled her knees to her chest and cried. While she was falling apart, I was 4,000 miles away. Finally breathing. Thursday night, before Emma got the eviction notice, I stood in my house one last time. One suitcase. That's all I packed. Clothes. Catherine's photo, her wedding ring, my passport. I looked around. 22 years in this house. Emma's height marks on the kitchen doorframe, the couch where we watched movies, the table where we had breakfast every Sunday. I closed the door, left the key in the mailbox, Uber to the airport, 11 p.m. flight to Rome, one-way ticket. At the gate, my phone buzzed, Emma calling. 15th time that day. I declined, turned off my phone, boarded the plane, window seat. The plane took off. I watched the city lights fade below. Everything I knew, everything I'd built, disappearing. And I felt light. For the first time in 22 years, the weight was gone. I thought about Catherine. I'm sorry I couldn't keep the promise, but I kept my dignity. I closed my eyes and slept. No dreams, no betrayals, just sleep. When I woke up, we were over the Atlantic. I looked out the window, nothing but ocean and sky. I was flying toward a new life, leaving the old one behind, no looking back, not even once. When I landed in Rome, I felt something I hadn't felt in 22 years. Free. Before I left for Italy, I did one more thing. Wednesday night, I drove to Emma's house, used my key. She wasn't home. I left 2 things on her kitchen counter. First, Catherine's wedding ring, in the velvet box I'd carried for 22 years. Second, a letter. Not from me, From Catherine. She'd written it 22 years ago, 3 days before she died. The nurses had helped her sit up, given her a pen and paper. Her handwriting was shaky, but legible. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone. But I want you to know, your father is the best man I've ever known. He gave up everything to love us. Please, never forget that. Treasure him. Respect him. Love him the way he loves you. Wear this ring on your wedding day and remember, love is sacrifice. Your father taught me that. All my love, Mom. I'd kept that letter for 22 years. Planning to give it to Emma on her wedding day, I placed it next to the ring, wrote a note on a post-it. Your mother wanted you to have these on your wedding day. I'm sorry I won't be there to give them to you, but after what you said, I realize you don't need me anymore. I hope you find the life you want. Dad. I left. Didn't look back. Friday afternoon, after Brandon left, Emma found them. She opened the box, saw the ring, read Catherine's letter, and broke down. 2 weeks later, I was in Tuscany, a small village Catherine had always wanted to visit. We'd planned to come here when we retired. Now I was here alone. I rented a villa, $800 a month, view of the vineyards. Every morning I woke up to sunrise, made espresso, sat on the terrace, just breathed. No stress, no guilt, no phone calls, just peace. I walked through the village. People greeted me in Italian. I learned basic phrases. Buongiorno. Grazie. Per favore. I ate pasta, drank wine, read books. I didn't think about Emma, or I tried not to. Sometimes sitting alone at night, I'd wonder, is she okay? Does she hate me? Does she understand why I did it? But then I'd remember her face, the contempt, the cruelty. Your life is worthless. And I'd close the door on those thoughts. After a month, I called David. How's the house sale going? Sold for $385,000. Proceeds in your account. Good. Emma tried to contact me, wants to talk to you. Tell her I wish her well, but I'm done. David was quiet. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. I hung up, looked out at the Tuscan hills, golden in the afternoon light. Catherine, I'm here, the place you always wanted to see. I wish you were here with me, but I'm finally at peace. 6 months later, she tried one last time. 6 months after the wedding that never happened. Emma was living with Nathan. 2-bedroom apartment. Cramped, noisy. She'd lost her corporate job. Too many absences, too many breakdowns. Now she worked retail. $15 an hour. She'd lost weight. Her eyes had dark circles. Her hair was always in a messy bun. Nathan cooked dinner one night. You need to eat, Em. Emma pushed the plate away. I'm not hungry. You need to move on. How? I lost everything. Nathan sat down. You lost it because you threw it away. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I know. I was terrible to him. Why did you do it? Emma wiped her face. Brandon's family made me feel like Dad wasn't good enough. Like I wasn't good enough because of him. I wanted to prove I was different. I wanted to be someone else. And look where that got you. Emma nodded. I'd give anything to talk to him, to apologize. He blocked your number. He sold the house. He's in Italy, Emma. He's gone. I know. Emma had tried everything. 89 texts, all blocked. Letters to his old address, returned. No forwarding address. She'd hired a private investigator, borrowed $2,000 from Nathan. The investigator found me in Italy, but when he called, I refused contact. Emma called David, my lawyer. Please, just tell him I'm sorry. David's voice was gentle. Emma, Matteo wishes you well, but he's moved on. Can I have his number? He asked me not to give it to you. I'm sorry. Emma hung up, sat on the floor of Nathan's apartment, pulled out an old photo, her, age 8, sitting on my shoulders, both of us laughing. She traced my face with her finger. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. But sorry wasn't enough, and we both knew it. 1 year after the rehearsal dinner, Emma wrote a letter. 5 pages, handwritten. Her hand shook the entire time. Dear Dad, I know you won't read this. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need to say this anyway. I was wrong. I was cruel. I said things I can never take back, and I've spent every day since regretting it. You gave me everything. You worked 2 jobs. You paid for my education, my car, my house. You never asked for anything in return, and I repaid you by telling you your life was worthless. I don't know why I said that. I was trying to impress Brandon's family. I was trying to be someone I'm not. I was ashamed of where I came from. I was ashamed of you, and I hate myself for that. You were never the problem, Dad. I was. Mom would be so disappointed in me. I read her letter. I wear her ring every day, even though I never got married. And I think about how I broke the one promise she asked me to keep, to treasure you. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to read this. But I need you to know, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you, Dad. I always have. I just forgot to show it. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I'll wait as long as it takes. Love, Emma. She mailed it to David. 2 weeks later, David called. I sent your letter to Mateo. Emma's heart raced. Did he read it? Yes. What did he say? Pause. He said to tell you, I forgive you, but I can't come back. Emma started crying. Can I call him? He asked me not to give you his number. I'm sorry, Emma. Please, just tell him I love him. I will. She hung up, sat on the floor, and cried until she had no tears left. 1 month later, I sent her a postcard. I sat at a cafe in Tuscany, sunset painting the hills gold. I held a postcard, a photo of the vineyards at dusk. I wrote 2 sentences. I've forgiven you, Emma, but I've also moved on. I hope you find your peace, as I've found mine, Dad. No return address, just those 2 sentences. I mailed it. 1 week later, it arrived at Nathan's apartment. Emma opened the mailbox, saw the postcard, Italian postmark. Her hand shook as she read it. She read it 5 times, then collapsed against the wall. Nathan found her there. What is it? Emma showed him the postcard. Nathan read it. He forgave you, but he's never coming back. Maybe that's what he needs. Emma looked at him. What about what I need? Nathan's voice was firm. Emma, you don't get to need him anymore. You gave that up. Emma nodded. She put the postcard on her nightstand, next to Catherine's ring. She looked at it every night before bed. Over the next 6 months, Emma slowly rebuilt. Got a better job, marketing assistant, $52,000 a year, started therapy, ate better, slept better. She kept my photo on her desk at work. When coworkers asked, she said, "My dad lives in Italy. We don't talk, but I think about him every day." She accepted the truth. She might never see me again, and it was her fault. She learned to live with that. The regret became part of her, not crushing, just there. A constant reminder of what she'd lost and why. 1 year later, she sent me a Christmas card. Just 2 words. I'm sorry. I received it, read it, and put it in a drawer. I didn't reply. Some doors, once closed, stay closed. But I didn't hate her. I never did. As for me, I found something I thought I'd lost forever. 2 years after I moved to Italy, my life looks nothing like it did. I'm 63 now. I bought a small farmhouse, used the money from selling Emma's house. It's perfect. 1 bedroom, kitchen with a view, a small vineyard out back. I work part-time. Remote consulting for construction firms in the States. Just enough to live comfortably. My days are simple. Wake up at 6, make espresso, watch the sunrise, tend to the vineyard. It's just a hobby. 5 rows of grapes. I've made friends here. Other expats. We have dinner once a week. They know I have a daughter. They know we're estranged. They don't push. I met someone. Maria. She's 58. A widow, Italian, kind. We're not serious. Just companionship. She makes me laugh. Something I'd forgotten how to do. I still wear Catherine's ring on a chain around my neck. I still think about Emma sometimes. Not with anger, just sadness. I keep 1 photo of her, age 6, laughing on my shoulders. That's the Emma I choose to remember. David sends me updates occasionally. Emma's doing better, New job, therapy, stable. She asks about me every few months. I never respond. I don't hate her. I never did. But I can't go back to that life. The life where I was invisible, where my sacrifices were taken for granted. I chose myself. For the first time in 22 years, I chose myself. Catherine would understand. Actually, I think she'd be proud. I'm living the life we dreamed of, just without her, and without Emma. But I'm finally at peace. Someone asked me recently if I regret it. Let me tell you what I said. I don't regret protecting my dignity. I don't regret choosing peace over pain. I don't regret setting a boundary that should never have been crossed. For 22 years, I gave everything. My time, my money, my heart, and in one night, she told me it meant nothing. So I took back what was mine, not out of revenge, out of self-respect. I didn't destroy her life. I just stopped building it for her. And you know what? I sleep well at night, because I know Catherine would be proud of me for one thing. I never lost myself. I lost a daughter, but I found myself again. If you're in a situation where someone, family, friend, anyone, treats you as worthless, remember this. You don't owe them your suffering. You don't owe them your silence. You owe yourself dignity. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. I forgave Emma, but forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation, and peace doesn't require her presence. I'm sitting on my terrace right now. The sun is setting over the Tuscan hills. The air smells like lavender and wine. I have a glass of Chianti in my hand, and I'm thinking about Catherine. I kept most of my promises to you, Kat. I'm sorry about the one I couldn't keep. But I think you'd forgive me. I think you'd understand. I'm finally living the life we dreamed of, and I'm at peace. If this story resonated with you, please share it. And if you've ever had to set boundaries with family, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Thank you for listening.